Good morning. Hey, I already got one thumbs up and I didn't even start talking yet. There on YouTube. Thank you. All right. So markets are grinding their way down to support. A little stair step. It's almost there. And we'll see if we can get down there today. Ideally, it'll get down into this area. Where are things here? Up a little bit. NASDAQ up a little bit, but they are leading the way down. The charts aren't up. What did I do? I picked it. Oh, I didn't hit the share button. Okay. I clicked it, but didn't hit the share button. There we go. Thank you. So stair stepping the way down, lower high, lower low bars. You see selling on the intraday moves up toward resistance. The prior bar's high, working its way down. Now yesterday had a day that closed near its low. What's the significance of that? Well, there was a lack of confidence from the other days, and sometimes that is a heads up to a turn. Ideally, it'll come down a little bit lower. You can see things are just kind of flip-flopping around here pre-market inside of yesterday's range on the spiders. So the ideal scenario is to get a bullish pattern in an area of support within an uptrend, looking for a move up. So it's in progress. We'll see how that plays out. So far, as I said, you can see lower high, lower low bars, getting closer to a support level. And as it gets there, buyers will become more aggressive in that area. That's the assumption that we make. Now, we've already covered the weekly chart as a breakout bar failure. So while we're anticipating a turn here, we're not anticipating a new high. You typically don't get that. So this is kind of a little consolidation. It's not textbook, where the bars, these two bars here would be relatively equal. There's a close, but you got a wide range bar and then the inside bar, and now it's broken the low of the inside bar. So when you see that and prices are moving up for a while, it says, take your money. And on completion of this, which we got until the end of the month, we should see a topping tail. I'm going to just flip that over there. So you can see that's kind of in progress. We still got, not too many days to go. It depends on how far this retraces, obviously, and where it closes at the end of the month, the size of the tail bar. Okay. So we'll see if we can get down there. Today's only Tuesday. A couple more days. How many days are in this month? 30 days. So we got another 4 days into Friday. And, just looking at this pattern, 4 days is very possible that to be down here, have a bottoming process and attempt to make the turn up. So a little further down, just looking at my crosshairs there, we'd have a reasonable sized tail. When we define a topping tail bar in the course, we give it a definition, and it's where the tail retraces more than 50% of the range. So the tail is more than 50% of the range. We call it a topping tail bar, like this, more than 50% of the range. I'll throw that back on the weekly. All right. Futures up a little bit. Inside bar, no big deal. Looking for it to come lower. There's an unfilled gap down here. 20 MA as a reference point. SPX. Every one of our numbers have been safe every day. Right? They're not getting there. These are adjusted for today. That should, I don't know why. Don't need that penny there, of course. Now 4,300. If the markets will drop a little bit at the open, ideally would be good to be below 4,300. That's a whole number. I made a note here for Friday, open interest. Got the largest open interest at 4,320, which will kind of be an inflection point. It'll probably get stuck there, give or take, into the area of the 20 MA. So just keep that in mind. Mostly calls versus puts. They're not even, but as it gets down there, if it goes, watch it. If it gets down there, it goes sideways for an hour or so, you might get a spike down toward 4,300 if it breaks through that 4,320. So it's something to keep in mind if you see S&Ps just hovering around there, going sideways for a while, and then it starts to break. With that open interest in puts, it could spike it down to 4,300, the whole number. And maybe that's where we get a little bit of a washout and a turn, since it would be on this support and a whole number. So just keep that in mind. Qs. Larger red bar stopped on the 20 MA. Support is down here. And I wanted to show you, just kind of looking at a whole bunch of ETFs here. And you can see, here's the Qs with the larger red bar. Spiders more controlled, move down, relatively equal range bars moving down toward the 20. Whereas technology took out the inside bars high and formed a topping tail bar. That typically leads to a move lower. And we'll see if that follows through. Software, a similar pattern. Semiconductors, a similar pattern. And this is, the small caps, but look, topping tail, sellers on rallies. Internet, seller on rally, a larger bar. The pivot is down here. And communications, which has been doing well. You can see the selling that occurred yesterday. Consumer discretionary and materials. We're starting to get some rotation into materials, which this has been all over the place, but this is one of the few ETFs that was down on the year, and now it's slightly up. So a little bit of a rotation in there. You can see the strength on the move up. You may want to look at some of the stocks that are in there. Retailing, topping tail, and consumer defense, those broken down and so on. So consumer staples showing a little relative strength there. I heard before we started, there was an upgrade on Kellogg's. People buying cereal rather than steak, with this inflation. Maybe that's a good reason to buy Kellogg's. But take a look at some of these consumer staple stocks and utilities and so on. So just a broad view of the selling that occurred yesterday, a lot of it in tech. But transports, now, interesting, right? Wider range bar. So two things we'd want to see, maybe a little consolidation day, or, keep an eye on this, because, these very shallow pullbacks and right up here in a wide range bar, we've shown these kind of patterns many times in MT Live. And while I don't know what's going to happen, if you get something like this, that is going to be a good sign that there's going to be some selling there. So I'll be keeping an eye to see where this does today. Do we get a little narrow range bar, which could be a 1, 2, 3 higher, or does it come back in again? So there's something to take note of what happens by the end of the day. All right, back here. Look at the Qs, the Russell. We looked at the ETF, so that's coming toward the 200. You got converging 50 and 200 there. Just telling me for Friday, SPY biggest call level is 424, puts 420. Uh, well, that would line up pretty much 420. Well, yeah, it's highly unlikely it's going to get down there. Um, if you start looking at further out in open interest, like out in the next month, you see large put bets at 4,200, going out to the next monthly expiration. But, as far as this week goes, I think it'll stay within this range. Um, Interest rates. We talked about keeping an eye on this. You can see, look where this is this morning, right? Starting to push higher. So the doubters that they're not, that they were going to stay pat and continue to pause, the markets are not agreeing with that opinion. And this is saying, yeah, they're going to increase a quarter point, probably at the next one. Probably markets are kind of getting used to that at this point. But so I don't think it'd be a terrible influence on what's happening, kind of expected. But this is moving up, and mentioned gold yesterday, which is up a little bit here, just kind of hanging under this resistance now, or it's going sideways in a bearish weekly, suggesting lower. And let's see if the dollar is moving at all. Not really. So market's kind of just sitting here, seeing what may play out, a little bit more information. Crude oil is just sitting there on support, indecisive whether it might break or move up. So nothing there. Bitcoin just ripped, higher there and just hanging there at that resistance. Back to interest rates here. So really nothing decisive going on, waiting for the markets to work their way down toward a support level where buyers will be more comfortable stepping up. Just flipping here, mid caps, not near any support. So there's just no compelling patterns as far as the markets go because they haven't reached their destination. There's no potent turn. There's no obvious patterns to consider longs, and maybe stock shorts, but this being in an uptrend or any of the things that we're looking at, things could turn pretty quickly. But again, this looks like needs to come down, and this is a cleaner example of a breakout bar failure. Right, the two bars being equal like this in a range expansion bar, the inside bar, and it's breaking the low. So it's a good pattern to say take your money when you see it, regardless of the time frame that it's on. And kind of short, but I think that's about it from me. Volatility index perked up a bit with yesterday, but not doing anything here. I think it's going to continue to be kind of choppy as markets grind their way lower. And as I said, we'll keep an eye on these transports to see what they do. The airlines. We could just look at jets, but I saw the CEO of Delta on there this morning, talking about how great things are, and just the great demand, and how he believes that's going to go on for a few years, sideways bullishly. But anytime, where is this here? It's up a little bit. So when I see consolidations like this and a little topping tail bar, send an alert here. Regardless of what he said, coming back down here is going to be a breakout bar failure, and it's extended. So far, they look pretty good. HT. That's a big mess. Truckers and Let's look at rails. It's taking a while. So I want to see if whatever transports, if they're going to be the down day today, maybe the airlines are going to be the ones that come in. But if they're going to go up, what could bring up the rear? And maybe it's going to be rails. It's a little pullback pattern. So I don't see anything that looks so compelling right now. Well, one thing that was compelling yesterday was Home Depot. Can this be on its own page? But that was a nice breakout. So I think that's going higher. And that was one of the standouts yesterday as far as the breakout pattern. And we'll see if that can continue to move up. It certainly looks like it's going to do that. So all yours, Dan.
Good morning. Yeah, I mentioned that Home Depot in the morning. My alarm went off right out of the gate there, and we did sell a put spread on it later in the day. That would be an ideal 1, 2, 3. If we get an inside bar in the upper third, then tomorrow we buy the high to go deeper into the void. See, let's just go right to my big interest list. Well, actually, a couple earnings here, not many though. I'm shown down. No pattern. KYF. Gapping under yesterday's bar or to it. I mean, only if it would to fully recover and take out yesterday's high. It's kind of a bull flag looking pattern there, but the gap's messing it up today. Hey, Cesar, filing. This, wow, trades like it has light volume, but it has 650. And it's actually, it's at the prior high, but look what jumps out at me. There's a bear sandwich on the monthly. So I'm going to keep this on the list to see if we can go sideways a few more days. If so, I mean, this little guy might double. SMX getting walked down here. Well, nothing to do now. We'll come back. Walgreens, profit problem warning. That's a big gap. So I have it here in the bottom right as it's a big gap. Let's see what happens. AutoZone, I think somebody's on the board is stepping down or whatever, but this is what we call greater than 100% retracement, buy setup, potent reversal, 2200 over yesterday's high, and that has room to go all the way to this 50. It's an expensive stock with illiquid options, unfortunately. I think Triple D, I think I read is raising a bid for this guy, which is causing this to gap up 1780, but the gap's too big, so no interest there. AEL, wow, well, look at that bar into the close. So that totally looked, the SEC should send a questionnaire to everybody who bought big blocks of stocks or options and said, oh, can you tell me why you did that? Now it's gapping up $8. They knew something. And that was totally on its own page, because if you look at, oh, it is a buyout. Okay, well then Rengen, the point I'm making is 100% the same. Who was in this news? I mean, look, the spider sold off into the close, so that was totally on its own page. I don't know what's up with you, but this is a beautiful, beautiful gapper trade here today. It looks like it's when I first saw it, it was gapping right here. And I love the ones that get just over these reversal bars. And now it's up another buck. I gave an official put spread idea. But I also was watching it as a long. Look at this monthly. It's at all-time lows, going sideways for a year. Broke out on the daily, weekly. It's gonna be the home run entry. So I like that a lot. Ralph Lauren, CEO, was on the CNBC. I mean, I only caught a few words, but he said, "Oh, we're not in the clothing business. We're in the experience business. We create an experience and then invite you to it." I'm like, man, this guy smoking pot this early in the morning? You're not a clothing company? That's average. CVS gapping down. Yeah, I guess CVS is gapping down in sympathy with Walgreens. But that's a nasty gap. That's actually a 30-minute low short. You got a small little bear flag on the daily. See, it's in a downtrend, and here's your little flag. And now today is your something reversal. That's ugly. And we have Lou, YouTube, asking about Sophie and Irene. Irene, it broke out. It's a 1, 2, 3 on the weekly. Has room. So the daily is not giving me a no-brainer entry because this is a 100-degree round trip. So it needs to stabilize, but because of the weekly, I like it a lot. Let's see if it will stabilize. And I had 1 or 2 other oils on my list. Dough here is one. And fine, I've been watching this for a week with Sam I Am. And it finally got a closing breakout. And then somebody, I think Thomas in the room, mentioned SWN yesterday. Notice how Dough is stronger. It didn't give it up into the close. It's a big old topping tail that happened right into the close, whereas Dough was holding. All right, Sophie. So yeah, let's watch old Dough. Put that in the window. And obviously, you know, I do this with every trade I do, but I do it even more so with oil and NASDAQ, of course. But I won't touch an oil stock pattern unless I see what the 4 index ETFs are doing. Sophie, buy setup. I do not like it as a swing here because you got these 3 sideways bars, and you can see yesterday's tail got whacked right there. But it's a nice 15-minute chart, including pre-market data. So if the market's in a good mood in 10 minutes or so, then yeah, you can buy a 10-minute high for a day trade, sure. Twilio. Now there's nothing to do now. But this is a bull rectangle consolidation after this monster flagpole. And then check this out, you all. Well, weekly is not as attractive to me. You know, you got that's major resistance, that's major resistance. But look at the beautiful monthly. Now it's not a textbook W, but it's a beautiful retest pattern. And as you know, the weekly is a microscope of the monthly. So you can see this retest is retesting this. So daily, weekly, and monthly are in alignment. But I don't have an entry yet. And I'm sure, let's say it pulls back to the 200. I'm not going to even buy there because then I got monster resistance overhead. But it's going on my list. I like daily, weekly, monthly, even if it takes a month for it to set up. I don't care. It's on my list. All right, Swabi here. This was earnings last Friday. Ripperama. Beautiful 1, 2, 3 on the weekly. So it's still a watch. You know, you would need a monster stop unless I'm hoping for a couple more consolidation bars. All right, so that's it there. Let's look at these little guys. Leno. I looked at this. There's an article in the journal that they're investing, I think, 1.2 billion in some new office buildings in New York by Penn Station. That is a bottoming pattern. You got flat 20 and 50. Well, the 20 actually is up. And as we teach, we need a something something bar. And exhibit A is yesterday. That's my something something. So ideally, I get a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then target somewhere 18 to 19. I don't know. Here's a competitor, Boston Properties, very similar trading activity. And this one's more extended to me. So as a new trade, I like Vano better, particularly if we get an inside bar. All right, it's filing bankruptcy. We've been saying, you know, a bunch of marijuana stocks. Man, I had no idea this thing was $500. They must have done a reverse split. Wow, I did not remember that. And now it is $1.11. So see, at the end of the day, fundamentals do control, but I could have 500 trades in between going with and against your fundamentals. That's why I don't care about it. But it's something as we call a core long, which just simply means expected holding period weeks to months based upon multiple time frame alignment. It's a definite plus if it's a beautiful, you know, I ask people in the green room who follow fundamentals and I just say, hey McGraw, is this a real company? And they'll say, yeah. And I'm like, all right, that's a plus. It's a real company with good technicals. So look at Riven, a competitor. That looks like that could be on the chopping block. Look, you had 4 breakout failures under the 20 and the 50. That's a sick stop right there. And I'm sure if we looked at the whole sector, there'd be you know, others that are in death trends. But look at marijuana stock. Look at ACB, 55 cents. That's been in a death trend. Mr. Pulling back here, gapping up a little bit. It's a technology company, but they trade with Bitcoin a lot. And so I've been watching this for a put spread because he's juicy. All right, AZO alarm going off. That's a beautiful pattern right there. But do not trade it now because you know it's going to be very illiquid and it's only 9:30 in the morning. But that's a beautiful daily 15-minute chart. End of day base. So whoever is stepping down, they like it. BLK alarm just went off. It's kind of a pseudo 1, 2, 3 gap reversal. That's our turn. Deep retracement. So we never expect a new high, but we're traders, right? So over yesterday's high, this looks like it can go higher for 1 to 3, 4 days. I don't know. So that looks good. That's all right. I got you on the other screen. All right, we're not going to get filled. Shoot, the gap's too big. Yeah, the credit on you, so let's cancel you because we might do it for next week. But we're not getting the credit. But it's still a good gap trade. Let's just, be patient now because of the gap's bigger. DLR. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, breakout daily, weekly target, 112, so not huge. I had pool alarm go off. I gave that as a little bull flag kind of thing. Let's change it now to the base high over 358. Cool. Yeah, DLR, we can keep an eye on.